We are continuing in the book of Acts this morning, starting not just a new chapter, but a new narrative. New primary players, in a sense, at least from where we've been. So we begin at the first verse, and we'll read down through the first half of the 23rd verse. At Caesarea, there was a man named Cornelius, a centurion in what was known as the Italian regiment. He and all his family were devout and God-fearing. He gave generously to those in need and prayed to God regularly. One day, at about 3 p.m, he had a vision. He distinctly saw an angel of God who came to him and said, "Cornelius." Cornelius stared at him in fear. "What is it, Lord?" he asked. The angel answered, "Your prayers and gifts to the poor have come up as a memorial offering before God. Now send men to Joppa to bring back a man named Simon, who's called Peter. He is staying with Simon the tanner, whose house is by the sea." When the angel who spoke to him had gone, Cornelius called 2 of his servants and a devout soldier who was one of his attendants. He told them everything that had happened and sent them to Joppa. About noon the following day, as they were on their journey and approaching the city, Peter went up on the roof to pray. He became hungry and wanted something to eat. And while the meal was being prepared, he fell into a trance. He saw heaven opened and something like a large sheet being let down to earth by its 4 corners. It contained all kinds of 4-footed animals, as well as reptiles of the earth and birds of the air. Then a voice told him, "Get up, Peter, kill and eat." "Surely not, Lord," Peter replied. "I've never eaten anything impure or unclean." The voice spoke to him a second time. "Do not call anything impure that God has made clean." This happened 3 times, and immediately the sheet was taken back to heaven. While Peter was wondering about the meaning of the vision, the men sent by Cornelius found out where Simon's house was and stopped at the gate. They called out, asking if Simon, who was known as Peter, was staying there. While Peter was still thinking about the vision, the Spirit said to him, "Simon, 3 men are looking for you. So get up and go downstairs. Do not hesitate to go with them, for I have sent them." Peter went down and said to the men, "I'm the one you're looking for. Why have you come?" The men replied, "We have come from Cornelius the centurion. He is a righteous and God-fearing man who is respected by all the Jewish people. A holy angel told him to have you come to his house so that he could hear what you have to say." Then Peter invited the men into the house to be his guests. This is the word of God for the people of God.
Thanks be to God.
It crossed my desk in I think probably the late spring or early summer of 2006. It was a flyer. And while normally it was something that I would not pay attention to, because of the circumstances I was in, I paid attention to this. Here are the circumstances. I'd come to a little Presbyterian church in Chickamauga, Georgia, the Chickamauga Presbyterian Church. About a year after they had voted right down the middle as to whether or not to move the church to some new and highly desirable property out on the highway from the place that they'd been for years in town. And then they had a short pastorate that did not work well at all. And so I came to a church that was relatively dissatisfied with everything. And a church that had decided to keep the peace by not talking about all the things that they had disagreed about in the recent times. And I came as an interim pastor. And the thought was I would come and work them through an interim process, which is basically a process of saying, what do we do next? And why are we doing it? That includes, if we need to be healed along the way, let's work on that too. And in a church that small, it took about 6 months. And we had just gotten to the point where we were recommending, after meeting with so many small groups and people's homes and letting people air out their difficulties, we had come and we're going to recommend to the session had already approved the recommendation, talk to the congregation about starting a new church. But we weren't going to replace the old church. We were going to leave it in place. and start a new church out on the highway with the folks that wanted to do that, and figured, why not just add a church rather than move a church? And for me particularly, the thought of starting a new church, please forgive me for this remark, starting a new church with a bunch of angry octogenarians was not a real thing that I thought would be very successful anyway. And that's, things did split along ageless. But while they had agreed they wanted to do this, I also knew they had no clue as to the difficulty that they were about to start, to begin a church from scratch, from nothing, and to do the work that you're going to need to do to figure out how to make this church go. And I wasn't sure that I knew everything. I was sure I didn't know everything, but I also knew that they knew way less than I did. These are folks, when we did this survey of the congregation, understand, the average, the median length of membership in the congregation was 19 years. Okay? That should tell you something about how many new members they've had. Because it doesn't take very many ones and zeros to draw down the median length of membership a long way. I mean, they were good folks, and they wanted to do the right thing. They just didn't have any clue how to do it. And I thought, aha, here's this flyer. It's advertising a purpose-driven church planting conference in Nashville. Now, being purpose-driven, it comes out of Rick Warren's stuff in Saddleback. And if you don't know, amongst church planters, and I hate that term, amongst church planters, he's probably the biggest hero there is out there. Because after all, he, right out of seminary, went to, was it Orange County, I think, in California? Very sparsely populated kind of little place, and started the church in his home, and went through all the travail, and now he's got this mega church. And so, all the young buck pastors that fancy themselves as folks that want to get a new church going, he's their hero. And everything purpose-driven is sacred. And I thought, I'm not sure that we need to buy into the purpose-driven model here. I don't think we can translate what happened in Orange County, California to Walker County, Georgia. But nonetheless, there are some issues that we need to think about, that they look at me like a deer in the headlights when I mention such things. And so maybe this is the opportunity to get a few people to embrace something and understand the depth at which they need to embrace it so we can move forward. So I talked it up, and we got a half a dozen of us to go to the 2-day conference in Nashville. And it was wonderful. And the folks completely bought into the notion that we could use what I call the attractional model, Rick Warren's business, which is basically you decide who it is you're trying to get to church, and you do just those things that they obviously want in a church. That's kind of the way he's focused on things. That's where he got started. And I just thought, I'm not sure that that's going to go so well here, and it's certainly not going to go with the kind of numbers that you could do that with in Orange County. It sort of appeals to the religious consumers out there, which is nothing wrong with being a religious goods and service consumer. But at the end of the day, the church is about making disciples, I think, not consumers. So, at any rate, we bought into that model. And we also bought into the notion that they had offered a series of monthly coaching meetings for the church planters that were going to do this. And the folks that went recommended highly to the session that I should go to that, and so I did. And it was by and large good. I mean, a lot of it was just understanding that there are factors in play that are in play for any organization starting from scratch in this world, whether it's a business or whether it just is. And there's some truth to that. But what I learned early on was that if you were going to be a good church planter, you had to have a wonderful vision of what your church needs to become. That could have been disastrous. It had to be this grand thing that involved everybody. And it probably needed to take over the world eventually. You had to think in Saddleback terms. And so I was reluctant and finally put something together about how we were going to transform all of Northwest Georgia and all that. But what it reminded me of, and even more so today, it reminds me that we do live in a world that says this to us. If you don't have a vision, or at least a mission statement, there's no chance for you to be successful. And there's a lot of truth in that. And so we have a lot of vision statements out there. Do you know? Do you have your personal vision statement yet? You're supposed to have one of those too. Not only for whatever it is you work for or whoever, but you're also supposed to have one personally. And they've changed over the years. Companies have always had. You know what Honda's vision statement was in 1970? Honda, the motor company? Things were a little bit dicier back then. Their vision statement in 1970 is, "We will destroy Yamaha." I don't know if they've succeeded in that or not. In the 1960s, Nike's vision statement was, "Crush Adidas." I guess they've succeeded. They've become kinder and gentler. Now their vision statement is to be the #1 athletic company in the world. Pretty simple. Walmart, always an aggressive. In the 90s, their vision statement was to become a $125 billion company by the year 2000. I guess they made it. I don't really keep up with such things. Microsoft, in their early days, you got to appreciate this now. Their vision was that there would be a computer on every desk and in every home, all running Microsoft software. That's back in the days when it was okay to be competitive. Now you can't be that way. So now Microsoft's vision statement is this. I love it. To help people and businesses throughout the world realize their full potential. And so we live in a time where vision statements not only are aggressive in saying what we're going to do, but they make you feel good too. They need to inspire you. So IKEA, you know the furniture people? Their vision statement is to create a better everyday life for the many people. How about this one? See if you can guess this company. To be the company that best understands and satisfies the product, service, and self-fulfillment needs of women globally.
Some mascara company.
Avon Calling. I like Disney. Disney's vision is to make people happy. Yeah, there you go. They're doing well at it, aren't they? I think so in a lot of ways too. I agree with you. But even local places have to have a vision that inspires. Here's a hair salon's vision statement. Our salon will change the way you think about a haircut. Full service comfort, friendly staff, and a relaxing atmosphere, and the best prices in town give you an experience that will leave you glowing both inside and out. And I am trying to think the last time I left the barbershop glowing, inside or out. I guess I've never been to this place. Our mission is to make our company your preferred shopping destination in all channels by delivering outstanding value, continuous innovation, and exceptional guest experiences by consistently fulfilling our expect more, pay less brand promise. That's the Walmart wannabe we know as Target. Or how about this one? This is kind of global. I like this one. Our vision is to be the Earth's most customer-centric company. To build a place where people can come to find and discover anything they might want to buy online. Amazon. Of course it is. Here's my favorite though. Amazon. That's Amazon. Now this one, you've got to be inspired by this. You're going to have to guess the product. Our company's responsibility is to continually improve all aspects of the world in which we operate. Environment, social, economic, creating a better tomorrow than today. Our vision is to put into action through programs and a focus on environmental stewardship, activities to benefit society, and a commitment to build shareholder value by making our company a truly sustainable company. Can you guess the product?
The Vatican.
Nope. That would be Pepsi.
Oh my goodness.
So we can shut the doors. We're done. Pepsi will save us. Okay. I admit I'm a little skeptical. I admit this is all a bit overblown. Not untrue. But I also know when we read this text in Acts, the vision thing is getting to be very important.